educating young workers about their rights, promoting mental wellness in the workplace, and advocating for job sustainability and improvements. These are just some of the areas of focus for the newly elected executive of the Antigua and Barbuda Workers Union Youth Arm. Now, on this episode of the Workers Podcast, we'll have an incredible opportunity to speak with members of the executive. I want to welcome to our podcast, we have Charles Browne. He is the treasurer of the ABWU Youth Arm. And also we have Kimberly Gordon, the public relations officer of the Youth Arm.
Assistant.
Assistant, thank you. Thank you very much for that correction. Now, just before we dive into our conversation, and I'm particularly interested in the first priority area, which is educating workers about their rights. But we're going to talk a lot about that a bit later. But before we do that, I want to ask you some questions just about yourselves, your involvement in the Youth Arm. And I'll start with you, Ms. Gordon. Tell us, why did you decide to get involved with the ABWU Youth Arm?
Well, I've been a member of the Workers Union for a little bit of time, maybe around 3 years. I have my own personal issues at work, and I've been able to get a lot of help, a lot of assistance from them. And I am one of the younger ones on the team. So when I heard about the Youth Arm, it seemed like a very good fit for me. I do like fighting for the rights of my colleagues, even though I'm the youngest one. And I thought that maybe it would help if I can get that message out to more young people so they are more encouraged to take up that kind of role, to not be scared to challenge a few rules and get the help that they need whenever they're in a situation where they don't understand something from the workplace setting, that they could be able to just ask about that.
Awesome. Charles, tell us about your story, your journey to being on the executive of the ABWU Youth Arm.
Well, what really captured my attention is actually from since the youth conference, being a part of, meeting different people from different workplaces, hearing their concerns and the like, even working together with them to come up with different solutions. And that really caught my attention. How I ended up being on the executive, because since that point, I actually wanted to be a part of the Arm, but how I became a part of the executive now, I was actually very nervous. And then when I found out that there had to be an election, I was like, I don't know. I don't know more than half of the people here. How are they going to vote for me, Like, what? But I should thank, President Blair. She actually, spoke to me and actually got me out of my comfort zone to actually go up there and speak and, get people to choose me as the treasurer for the Antigua Barbuda Workers Youth Arm.
Excellent. Now, prior to our youth conference, because that was a big event earlier on this year, and this question goes to the either of you. Do you find that young people have an interest being involved in your workplace? Do you find that young people have an interest in being or have been union inclined? Should I put it that way?
I find that a lot of young people don't exactly understand a lot of the things that are involved in the union itself. Like even me and other young persons, where we attend the union meeting when we meet as the board of education. In our union meetings, there a lot of time when a lot of the young people's like, I don't quite understand, what is this? Like what is the increase by whatever percent or whatever? What exactly is that? So a lot of us are very lost, and I think that especially me being here is also important, that I be able to understand so I can help them to understand and get them interested. So because there's no understanding, there's not really something that they might want to get involved in right away. But once they get involved and once they understand, I believe that they.
I also agree. I don't find that a lot of young people are really knowledgeable about what can be done for them. I think, unfortunately, a lot of us have heard from older persons about the union isn't really helpful. You could lose your job. So they're not even encouraged to go find out the information for themselves. So it's a bit of a battle, because it's going to take a bit of re-educating for them to understand that although we're not saying that other persons may not have had negative experiences,
yes,
but we really need to encourage them to get out there and actually learn about it themselves. And what I think might be helpful is if they could hear it from younger voices as
Indeed.
well.
Yes. And I suppose that's where you
That's where we
guys
come in.
That's
come
That's where we come in.
as the youth. So as a young worker in the environment, I assume that both of you are under the age of 30, but you have to be,
Oh, yes.
right?
Yes.
To be a member of the youth arm. What are some of the prevailing challenges that you have observed from the point of view of a young worker?
I think for most young persons, they're a little bit scared of speaking up. So communication is a little difficult for them. They're just coming in, they're unfamiliar with the environment, and they're just not asking questions. You know, there's a little bit of fear in them. I think it's very helpful to know what channels of communications they can take. That will help them a little bit so they know, hey, you can speak to your boss regarding this. And if that doesn't work, there's this channel that you can take after, and your job will still be okay.
Yes, and I find it's very important to actually have the knowledge of your rights, because without the knowledge, you actually won't have a voice. You actually don't know what you're speaking about.
Yeah.
So I think that is very, very important as well.
Okay. And I think that is why, as an executive, the youth arm would have decided that worker education about their rights is going to be a priority. Is there anything that you can share with us about that thrust to educate young workers about their rights? What are you going to do different? What approaches might you be considering, or might you consider taking to make that something that will penetrate into young audiences?
Well, we're hoping to meet them where they're at, okay? We know a lot of young people love social media. We know they're on their phones every day. So we want to put that information where they can reach it easily. You click on your phone, click on Facebook, Instagram. We even have Twitter, just to make sure the information is there. Of course, word of mouth is always nice, but you can only reach so much persons by speaking. So we're really hoping to push the social media platforms and get the information there for them.
Excellent. So now let's move on and talk about another area of focus, which is mental health. And that's a big deal, I understand.
Yes.
Not just for young workers, but workers in general, right? In order for you to function and be more as productive as you can, it makes sense for you to be in a stable and a positive state of mind. So talk to us a bit about mental health and why the Youth Arm has taken up that thrust.
Okay, well, I believe that, in, mental health, mental wellness, there are a lot of persons, young persons, old persons, older.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you not say old people?
Yeah, there are, a lot of different factors that, contribute to like the anxiety and stuff, like how much they get per month, like the salary.
Correct.
Some people have their student loans, some people have their other obligations that need to take care of, and that also contributes to the anxiety. And there are times when people actually walk in the workplace, even I myself sometimes, as I'm walking in the building, I'm just like, oof, I'm here again, and that affects our productivity. It affects how we are in the workplace and how motivated we are to do the work. So I think that it's very important that we encourage persons, to take care of themselves, even to have workshops on mental health, mental awareness, things that you can do to motivate yourself, things that you can do to be in a certain way in the workplace, to leave the stuff that are outside.
Correct,
So when you come into work, that you're ready and willing to give your best.
Excellent. Do you think, either of you, that the other things that the employer can do to encourage positive mental health and mental wellness in the environment?
Most definitely. A lot of persons might be uncomfortable taking the breaks that they actually deserve, but that's one of the ways that you can preserve your mental health. If you get a 15-minute coffee break, feel free to take that. I understand that a lot of persons have a heavy workload and they feel like if they don't get it done, there's extreme repercussions, but your health is also something that you could end up paying with, right? So you want to be able to have that in place. We also have persons a bit anxious because their workscape changes so often, but we personally, we believe that the employer should provide you the education that you can keep up, and that's one of the ways you can prevent yourself from getting too anxious, because you're prepared now.
Yeah,
you're prepared for the job, and that's one of the ways the employers can help us with the workplace to keep your mental health in check.
Wow, excellent. Now, before we touch on some of the other issues, I want to come back a bit to your own experiences in the union and in the youth arm. How has the journey been so far for you as a member and executive member of the youth arm?
Very exciting. Before being elected, I honestly did not hear about it before.
Okay.
All right, I must be honest. But as for being a part of the team, I've seen the drive, the energy, and I'm motivated by that too, to see that there's this many people actually really hyped up for it.
Yeah.
And I've liked it a lot. I'm happy to see that young people are thinking along that line. So I've been really enjoying it.
Tell me about your role as the public relations officer.
I am the assistant public relations officer. I go out, I speak to persons about the events that we're having coming up. We handle quite a bit of the social media as well, which we're really going to be pushing this year, as we've discussed before. Besides that, we do have quite a bit of things set out, few goals where we'll be encouraging persons and helping them know how to deal with public speaking as well. So we'll be heavily involved in that. That's mostly it for right now.
Great. So now we come to Charles. Your role is the treasurer.
Yes.
So you control the monies, do you? Tell us about
We like Charles.
Are there any challenges that you anticipate in that department? Because come on, if we're real with ourselves, finances is always some of the biggest challenges that we face when we're planning projects. And how do you plan to overcome some of these financial hurdles that you may be anticipating going forward?
Well, just mainly focusing on, fundraising, getting the right funds, because when you're, don't have the funds available, you're very limited to the things that you can do.
Correct. Yeah.
And when that happens, you have to be able to manage people's expectations. A lot of people may want this, they want that, so like, there's only so much we can do with the funds that we have available.
Yeah.
So that is something that I find challenging, because I'm a very nice guy, so I have to know when to say no.
Yes.
You can't do this because we don't have to.
He's trying to make it work.
Yes, I have to make it work sometimes, but yes. So that's one of the challenges that I have to overcome as the treasurer. Another part of my role is the budgeting. I have to work with the events team. They have to tell me what exactly they want. How exactly you're gonna find the best way forward in terms of what monies go where, and also getting the funds going as well. How are we gonna get the funds available?
Okay. Sounds good. And I want to encourage you to stay on top of it, because we're already putting out a very positive image of our youth arm and the activities that we plan to undertake. So we're going to be looking in your direction.
Yes.
To make things happen.
Make it happen, Charles.
Yeah. So let's come back a bit to mental health before we touch on some other issues. And I'll stay with you, Charles, because I want to find out about mental health, not just from a young person's point of view, but from a young male's point of view. So we know that mental wellness is something that is being discussed. If you observe, many times it's being discussed more within the female circles, because men may not be as open towards discussing these issues as culturally women tend to be. Now, how do we address that? How do we get young men, to open up, share their experiences, so that they can get the support that they might need with mental wellness? Do you have any thoughts on this as a young man?
I think it's just about creating the right environment, and even having certain, mentors, like in the workplace itself, people who would actually reach out to you, people that you can feel comfortable with talking to. Because it's not every time that you're gonna just, as a guy, I'm not gonna just say, hey, I'm having this problem.
Hell no.
Yeah, we don't do that. We don't do that, you know? So we need to have, those kind of people who are actually, being observant, noticing certain things
Correct,
about us in the workplace and say, hey, Charles, I notice, such is going on. You need to have that kind of person that we can reach out to, a mentor or somebody,
Yeah.
Once we have that, it would actually give us the support that we need.
Yeah, I really like that thought. I can't say that I've heard it before, because you normally hear mental health advocates say, oh man, you need to open up, you need to speak up. But at the same time, I think it helps if there's someone that reaches out, someone that is observant and really sensitive to the extent that they can get you to feel comfortable and speak up. Because some of us, are not going to be that extroverted in that sense. You really need someone to kind of reach in and pull it out of you. So I think you made a really important and interesting point. Now, Ms. Gordon, from a female's point of view, examining the male experience with mental health, what are with mental wellness rather, what are your observations, and how can we really reach out to more young men to offer support?
Well, a part of what Charles was saying before was to have a mentor, which I think is really important.
Yeah.
I think sometimes as females, we're able to look up and we're able to visualize somebody for ourselves, but there's not as many for the guys to visualize. So it's a little bit harder for them to speak. So I really like that direction that he's going in. I think it's something that we can improve on. Maybe just highlighting more persons that they can use as an example.
Yeah.
And as you said, we can focus on getting persons dedicated to looking out for the guys, because I know it's very easy. Girls are open. We can come in, the whole face gonna be sad. It's going to be very easy to tell when something is going on with us. But the guys, they really have the poker face. Somebody has to be to pick it up, and hopefully we can get to that point very, very soon where there's persons dedicated to that.
Yes, yes. Okay, so now we're moving on again, and there's a fourth area of focus that your president has publicly articulated and is very passionate about, and this has to do with certain rights and accommodations for lactating mothers in the workplace. You can elaborate a bit more on that, Gordon?
Yes. So for a lot of women out there, obviously, we're the only ones that can carry a child. So it might be a little bit hard and difficult for the other sex to understand how much of this really is important for us to be able to even provide for the child.
Yeah.
We're going to be lactating. It's the very best way in order to care for a healthy child is to provide breast milk.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's the option that you're choosing, we propose that it should be possible for you to have a private area where you can lactate, you can have your breast milk, you can put it down, maybe not in the same storage area where everybody else is keeping lunch, but it needs to be kept cold. So you want to be able to have maybe just a small little kitchenette fridge where the ladies can put it down for the time being, and maybe a few extra minutes in the day.
Yeah.
I know it sounds like a lot, but it's easier to give a 20 minutes extra than to have, a mother completely stressed out because she has to switch to a program she didn't really intend to because she wants to be a part of this workspace.
Yeah.
It's really important to a lot of people to be able to make that choice for their child. And we just want to provide an environment where they can do that. So if you want to be able to breastfeed, it should be a possibility for you, regardless of if you have to work.
Okay. So are there any other jurisdictions that would have similar accommodations that you're looking at and try to draw some parallels as to how we could implement this in our region?
Well, in our region, the main focus that we're trying to look at is dedicated time and a specific area. Mm-hmm. Although a bathroom space is available, it's not necessarily the cleanest place for you to be doing something like that. So we're proposing that hopefully in the future we could have just a small little tiny room. Doesn't have to be something extra, but
Doesn't
somewhere
take much,
clean.
right?
Yeah.
Yes, where we can be able to have a bit of privacy. If that's not a possibility, I know obviously there's a lot of places already fully structured out. At least the opportunity where there's you have a specific time in your office. Maybe you can, at this time, there's no entry from from anybody just coming in, so you have a little bit of privacy
Correct,
to be
yeah.
able to do that, and then you can hit back the work scene easily.
So what sort of response, reaction are you anticipating from first employers and then, of course, employees?
Well, we know the employers are not going to be as happy because we're talking about time in which they could have gotten out of us,
Yeah.
which is, it's a bit rough. But I think most of the employees, well, at least the ladies.
Yes.
I don't know of the men yet. We'll find out from Charles how he feels about it. But for the ladies, obviously they are overjoyed because, again, this is an option that for a long while has been sort of off the table because the timing just isn't there. You can't really quite control the time of when you're going to be lactating enough that you can be like, okay, when I get home, I'll have enough for this period of time. It's a bit difficult. So I think the ladies would very much be they would be much more happy, more relaxed to know that that's an option for them.
Charles, is this an initiative that you think male workers would be supportive of for their female counterparts?
I do. However, there are some men of a different mindset. There's some guys that, especially of their time, they don't like to, be held back from certain things or getting certain things done. So there are different people with different mindsets. And that's where, the employers should come in to create the necessary accommodations for the women, despite of the negative feedback that may come from the men or anybody else in the workplace. I think that is very important.
Because really and truly, this is a vital care and life function, right?
Of course.
Providing the necessary nourishment for little ones. So I do hope that we have all of the workforce on board when we get to that stage. And how soon might we be rolling out this campaign, making it a major talking point for the youth arm? It already is, but I'm expecting that we're going to ramp up efforts in this regard.
Well, we do already have it in discussion. If you check out our social media pages, you'll find a bit of information on that. But we will be addressing it again in the future soon.
Okay. So as we wind things down, what would you like to say to our young workers, our young audiences in the workplace? And of course, how can they get involved with the Antigua and Barbuda Workers Union Youth Arm?
Well, we have our sign-up sheets. You can always come in and sign up with us. We have different sections that you can join, which is finance, special events, communications, and media. We have
education as well.
Education, yes. So they have different sections that you can join. Anything that you're interested in, you can be a part of that and be a part of us as a youth arm.
Sounds good. Anything else you want to add, Ms. Gordon?
You can find us on three places actually. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We also have our email address. We'll have it at the bottom of the screen that you can reach out to us and get in touch. If you're not sure about each committee, we'll be there to guide you so that you pick the right one that's a comfortable fit for you.
Excellent. I want to thank you both for spending time with us here on the Workers Podcast. We learned a lot about the youth arm and, of course, the priority areas going forward and how these will impact young workers out there. I want to encourage you all to stay with the fight, keep educating our workers, keep engaging with our workers. And we know that by the end of your tenure, you will have a lot to celebrate.
Yes.
A lot.
You've been watching and listening to the Workers Podcast. Thanks for being with us, and do join us again next time.